What's going on, guys? In this video, we're gonna continue building this API in Python using Django and the Django REST framework. So let's jump into it. Just a quick recap. Here I have just my README file in this project. And the idea is that we want to build a library API with a catalog inside where we are gonna be able to maintain in the database books and author, and both are connected through a many-to-many relationship. In the previous video, we have created already all the endpoints that we need to maintain the books, meaning if we do a GET request to this URL, we're gonna get the list of all the books, or if we create a new book, we can just do a POST request, and so on and so forth. So in this video, we're gonna continue building the author part and connect through the many-to-many relationship the final part of this project. So let's go quickly into the src file, and before that, let's just start preparing everything. So we need to activate the environment. So by doing just source environment being activate, and I move to the src, and I do python manage run server just to bring the development server up. So in the catalog, remember, we were modifying the views. This holds the logic of your application. Remember the model view template design pattern that Django has. We also have the models part. This is where your database, a representation of your database, is living in your application. And of course, we have the serializer, a way to transform these Python objects that we have and represent our database into a JSON format, for instance. Now, let's gonna start by just creating a new model that is gonna be in charge of maintaining the authors. So to do so, we're gonna do class author, and then this is gonna extend models.model. And this is gonna be quite simple, actually. So we're gonna have just simply a name, and this is gonna be models.char field with a max length of 250. And we are gonna have a books associated to it. So here we're gonna have a many-to-many relationship, many-to-many relation field, sorry. And the first argument is the model that you're gonna make in this many-to-many relationship, okay? The first argument will be the book, and the related name is just how we are gonna communicate back from the books to the authors. So in this case, it's gonna be authors, okay? So that's very good. We need also, that's the first element. So we need this in the database. So let's migrate it, meaning we need to execute Python manage, make migrations. This creates a new migration that is gonna create the model that is gonna be in charge of creating the model in the database. And we just need to execute this migration by doing Python manage migrate. And if we explore quickly the database, we're gonna see another table that is called author, okay? And we are gonna have author and books table that is gonna hold the many-to-many relationship. So we have the model ready. Next step is really to play around with the serializer. So I'm gonna add a new serializer that is gonna transform the author object into a JSON format serializer. This is gonna extend again. I'm just gonna copy paste here pretty much everything. This case is not gonna be a book, it's gonna be an author. We replace the model by this author, and we want to, of course, display the books, okay? Okay, and now we need to also say, well, when you get the serializer, and here I have a typo, when you try to push data to the serializer, I don't want to require the insertion of all the books that are related. So what we are gonna do is that we need to create an extra parameter that is called extra KWR, that we say that the books are actually not require equal false. Okay, so we just need to add this line to make sure that API doesn't complain that we're not passing the books when we are creating a new author. And the last part is that I also want to, when I get the books, I want to also show which author I have, okay? And here we're going to have the same situation. So I'm going to add an extra field here saying that if I create a new author, I don't want that author to be really a field that needs to be provided. So we can add it later on. And for the authors, this actual field doesn't exist in model. And we need to say, well, these authors correspond to the author serializer. And we need to say that this is a many true and is not required false. Okay. It's a read not required, read only. I have my other read only is equal true. I have my other window with some other annotations that sometimes you tend to forget. So we have the serializer, okay? Once that we have the serializer, we just need to have and update this view. We need to just update the logic. How do we do that? It's pretty much the same way that we did it for the books, but in this case, we just really need to rename instead of books. We just need to call the authors here, and this is going to be an author serializer and an author model. So by copying these, I need to copy it here, and replace the author serializer pretty much with the same structure that we had before. So I save this, and the very last step is to update the URLs. .py. There we're gonna tell, okay, depending on where you are gonna do your entry point, you're gonna execute this function or this other function, or this other view, if we say it a bit more correctly. So we're gonna have then another entry point that is gonna be authors and authors / the primary key. And of course we need to import, the author view set and the author details view set that we just created. I just gonna replace this guy here and this guy here, and we're ready to give it a try and see if that works. So I'm gonna launch the server and go to Thunder Client. Thunder Client, I opened first a request on books, and you see that I get all the list of all the books that are available, and I get an extra field that is called the author with an empty array, okay? Because we don't have any author. What happens if I do authors? I'm gonna expect to have an empty array because we haven't created one. So let's create a one. I change to a put request, and then I'm gonna say, well, the name of this author is gonna be Charles Dickens. Send this request, and I got an internal server error because I forgot to add the final slash here. So once that I execute it again, it works. I return a new author that is called Charles Dickens, and I have any book associated with it. how can we associate that book? So let's first just create another author and then just call it Stephen Hawking's. I'm just gonna post and I get another one. If I do a get request, I'm gonna get the list of all of them. And just to check the ID of the books, I'm gonna do a get request to the books. I see that Moby Dick is ID 1 and A Brief History of Time is ID number 2. So I would like now to associate this Charles Dickens to book 1. So how do we do that? Well, we need to do a put request on author with ID 1. And we're gonna say, well, the books that this author, so Charles Dickens, have are ID number 1. So if I send that, and actually it's a path request because I'm just updating a single field, I send that and then we get the updated information. So if I do the same for Stephen Hawking, I'm just gonna associate the second one. I send, I patch, and I could in principle say, well, you know what? Actually, A Brief History of Time was written by Charles Dickens and Stephen Hawking. So I could just say, I will append the author, the books 1 and 2 to Stephen Hawking. So Stephen Hawking will have written Moby Dick and A Brief History of Time. I do that, then I get a perfect response. I get, let's see what happened if I get all the books back with a get request. And then you see, okay, so we have the authors of Moby Dick. We have information about the authors of the names and also the books that they have inside, and we can actually clean this up a bit if it's necessary, but so far it seems to be good, so no surprises there. Maybe we can just have a different view of the object that we return. And this is just concerning the serializer. So when I return the book, I would like to have an extra field here that is just telling me the name of the author, if any. So I would probably just do it differently. I could just return, for instance, an array of the name of the authors. So how do we do that? So let's just call it human readable authors. And this is going to be a method that is called Serializer method field. And this, what it does is that this, when Django, the Django REST framework sees this, is going to look for a function with the following name: get human readable authors. The first argument of this function, of course, is going to be self, and then we're going to have the instance. So the book instance, in this case, let's just call it the book. And we can return, for instance, the author dot name. So we want to return the name of the author for author in books dot authors. Dot all. If I save this, let's give it a try. And I go to Thunderbird and I'm gonna do send. We get an internal server error because we haven't included the field in the serializer. So when I wanna show this, I forgot to add it here. And then I try again. And now we should see human readable authors. we have actually an array that contains only the name of the authors, which is quite convenient. In many cases, you want to rework a bit your data and display it in certain way. So I think that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you next time when we're gonna deploy these to production, or even better, see you next time where we are gonna actually dissect these classes that we have been using and the Django REST framework is offering us, just to understand what is happening behind the scenes. Okay, so see you next time. Bye bye.